Hey everyone, welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. This is Cassie. Today we're going to be making a Slimline card and we're going to be using this really cute stamp set called Sweet Friendship. This is so fun to color and I love it because it just will take up the whole front of an A2 size card, or you can work it beautifully on a Slimline. We're also going to be using that 9x4 Winter Hues paper along with the stitch strips Slimline dies. Those are great. There's so many in there and we're going to be using one to help us kind of embellish our background. So what I'm doing first is I'm pulling that stamp and I'm going to put that inside of my mini MISTI, and I am going to stamp this down onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock using my Ink on 3 Blackout ink. This ink is great for not only alcohol marker coloring but also for wet mediums, and I'm going to be using some Arteza Real Brush markers. And those markers are a wet medium, so they'll work perfectly with this. So I've pulled out my swatches of my Real Brush markers. I'm going to try and match those up to the Winter Hues paper that I'm using, so that way we can have some nice matchy-matchy. You know, I'll know I like to matchy-matchy with things. So here I am pulling out those Arteza Real Brush markers, and I am coloring these a little bit differently than I would typically with my Copic markers. I'm going dark to light, and then I'm actually taking my lighter marker and I'm dragging that color out, which is really, really great. So what I'm doing is I put down that dark color, bring in the lighter color, and it just drags the darker color with it, so it blends really nicely. And you can do this with a water brush as well, but it's also fun to use just marker to marker. And like I said before, when I'm using my alcohol markers, I typically go light to dark, but here I like to go dark to light. And I'm just bringing in each of those colors, and you can saturate that color more with each pass, but it really does a beautiful job of blending. These are supposed to be kind of similar to Zig, I think Zig color markers, and I've never actually used those, but I think they're pretty similar. And like I said before, I'm using this onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I've tried using these type of markers on other watercolor papers and have had little to no success, but when I use it on Bristol Smooth, because Bristol Smooth has what it says, a smooth surface to it, the color just glides that much easier. Just like I use it with my ink blending as well, this paper just works really well in using markers like this because the color just glides so much easier. And I do want to point out that there is a difference with the brands. So I particularly use Strathmore Bristol Smooth. I've tried Bristol Smooth in some of the other brands and haven't had the same success that I have with Strathmore. So if you have been using some form of Bristol Smooth and you're not getting good results, try switching your brands and see if you get a different result. Because I just kept getting so confused as to why everybody else was having like the best luck with it. And then when I switched brands, I discovered that that did have a little bit to do with it. All right, now we're just moving on to purple at the bottom with that word treat, the little candy bar. And I'll tell you what, the entire time I was coloring this, I wanted some chocolate pretty desperately. I am usually not a sweets person. I am much more of a salt person. Like, you give me a bag of chips, I've said that before, and I will tear it up, which is why chips aren't really even allowed in the house because everybody knows that mom will get into them. But you can put chocolate there and I will walk away from it. In fact, I made some fudge for Christmas and I had like a piece, but then the rest of it sat there until everybody else ate it. I just wasn't that interested. But if it had been a bag of chips, it would definitely have been gone very soon. All right, we're just going to keep bringing in some of that color. You'll notice I did bring in a water brush at this point. That's because, like I said before, this is a wet medium. And then we'll just finish doing some of our coloring. I'm going to color these little chocolate pieces down here all like they're almost like they're chocolate chips, I guess. I think the last time that I colored this, I did them all different colors, which is the best part of this art form that we have. Am I right? You might color something one way and walk away and then come back and decide to color it completely differently, or give the same piece to one person and they'll color it totally differently than you're doing, which, like I said, is probably, I mean, I just love that about this craft that we have, because I definitely did color this very differently than the last time. So just coloring in that chocolate bar using those same colors that I used for our little chocolate chips down below. And then I'll blend those colors out a little bit using the lighter one. And then I'm going to come in with a gray one for the inside of the wrapper. And then I am going to trim this down because I noticed that when I stamped it not completely centered. So I'm just going to trim this down a little bit more using my guillotine trimmer. And then I'm going to pull out the papers that I want from that Winter Hues 9x4 paper. And then I'm going to take this with this particular die, this one from that Stitch Strip Slimline dies, and we'll cut out a bunch of different colors. And then I'm just going to line those up in color order that I want. But isn't that great? Love it. And like I said, this is 9x4 paper, which is awesome because if you wanted to make your cards 9x4, you absolutely could. I typically cut mine to be 3.5 by 8.5, so I'm trimming that one down. But and both will fit into a business-sized envelope. I'm lining this up onto my glass mat because I want to put that center piece down first so that everything is nice and centered. So as you see, I've just kind of left that on my glass mat, trying to make sure that that's centered, and I'm using that big strip of white on the glass mat to line up that center piece, and then the rest is super easy. I'm just using liquid glue on the backs, and then I am sticking those down next to each other. And I love using the liquid glue because it gives me just a few seconds to kind of manipulate the strip. I can move it up and down as I need to. It's funny, when we first started this craft, I didn't use liquid glue at all. I only used like tape runner, and it's funny how things kind of evolve or, you know, go round and round. So, and I'm loving the stripes. This paper is so pretty because you have stripes on one side and then you have dots on the other. So the white dot paper that I pulled out of there, I just think that's fun. So we have the dots, but then we have the stripes here. And we got that pretty little rainbow back there. I did pull out some grayish cardstock for my card base that, like I said, I cut down to 7 inches by 8.5 inches and then score it at 3.5 inches using my Teflon Ergonomic Bone Folder from Trinity Stamps. And then I'm going to use that liquid glue to put my card panel down to my card base. You could use foam tape, obviously, and any of these pieces that you wanted, but I decided to keep this one fairly flat. I debated putting some foam tape behind my colored piece, but decided to just use the liquid glue. And then I'm actually going to step it out here. I've got some grape juice confetti mix, and I put that into my tidy tray, and then I'm just going to put those randomly all over there. And then I'm actually going to put that down with some Nuvo Drops Crystal Morning Dew. So those are the crystal drops. So that's just a clear liquid, and I'm going to use that again here in a second after I get all these pieces down. And you'll notice I was pretty liberal with those. You could, you know, put in all sorts of colors since that's a rainbow background, but I thought it would be fun to really bring in more of that pink color because I just love it so much. And like I said, I'll bring in those crystal drops. That Morning Dew is going to go over the part of the wrapper that's folded over to add some shine. And then I'm going to bring in some glitter drops because I decided I really wanted to add a little bit more like glitter and shine, since these are pieces of candy like a sucker and a lollipop, and then we have those little like peppermint sticks in the background. So that first color that I brought in was Enchanting Pink. This one that I'm bringing in is Summer Sunrise, and these glitter drops are basically a translucent with a little bit of glitter. So they do have a tint of color to them, but they're mostly like translucent, so you can see through them. This final color is Aquatic Mist. And then I actually am going to bring in some White Blizzard for the word treat. So that one is just a clear drop with glitter in it. And so there's going to be so much shine on the front of this card. I love that, since we're talking about candy. And you'll see here as soon as I'm done, I'm going to hold this up to the light and you'll get to see all the shine and shimmer that happens all over this card. And it's just so much fun. So take a look at that. So if you liked this card, since that finishes this off, go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on our blog, Instagram, at the shop. You name it, we got it going on. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.